My name is Fanina Peneva and I am a guide at the House Museum of Hadji Dimitar, which is a part of the Regional Historical Museum in Sliven. Hadji Dimitar is a very famous national hero, a legendary leader, a rebel who wanted to raise the enslaved population to rebellion, to fight for liberation from the Ottomans. His monument in the center of Sliven is a symbol of the town. It was built in 1935, and in this same year a small museum collection was opened in his birth house, which later grew into an exposition in 1955. The whole museum complex consists of house of birth of Hadji Dimitar and also his father's inn. Hadji Dimitar's house of birth was built at the end of the 18th century by his grandfather. The birthplace is a small, one-storied house with a wooden porch with a characteristic construction and architecture typical of the early revival period. The traditional interior of the room where Hadji Dimitar was born was completely restored. So were the guest room, the kitchen, and the wine cellar typical for Sliven. The inn of Hadji Nicola, son of his father, has been included in the museum complex, together with the outhouse and stables. The typical atmosphere has been created of the inn, and also a workshop for thick woolen rugs. The inn of his father was built about the middle of the 19th century. According to the notes of one of the foreign travelers who visited Sliven, 36 inns existed by the middle of the 19th century. The two-story building has single and shared rooms. A reconstruction of a shared room with woolen and goat's hair rugs has been made on the first floor, and on the upper floor you will see a typical furnishing of a room for wealthy guests with window couches and lights and so on. A woolen fabric workshop has been reconstructed on the ground floor. Hadji Dimitar's father, Hadji Nicola, was a master at the production of thick woolen blanket, well-foot woolen fabric used for covering or for manufacturing of outer winter garments. On the second floor is shown a large exposition about Hadji Dimitar and his fellow and revolutionist Stefan Karađa. The exhibition includes interesting samples of firearms and metal weapons, photographs and documents connected with the march of the detachment of the two men in 1868. Sliven is known as the town of the 100 voivodes. The voivodes were brave young men like Hadji Dimitar who were leaders of armed groups struggling for independence. Sliven was an important center of the revolutionary movement. Some of the reasons are the love of freedom of its inhabitants, the surrounding pathless mountains, and also because Sliven was one of the significant centers for production of firearms in the 19th century. Hadji Dimitar was born in 1840 in a wealthy family. When he was only 2 years old, they went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and Hadji was added to his first name, Dimitar. As a young boy, he helped his father in his work in the inn and was often annoyed by the behavior of the rich people. Growing among proud and patriotic Bulgarians, he became angry about the situation in his homeland, and the idea to fight slavery and the humiliation arose in his mind. By the beginning of the 60s of 19th century, the rebels movement developed from spontaneous actions into organized nationwide movement with a clear political goal and ideology. A leading role played Georgi Rakovsky. Under his guidance, in the beginning of 1868, with the material support of the Bulgarian emigration in Romania, started intensive preparation of a big military detachment to cross into Bulgarian lands and raise the people to rebellion with the purpose of establishing an independent Bulgarian state. And for leaders were chosen Hadji Dimitar and Stefan Karadja. Hadji Dimitar was only 28 years old when he was killed in the last battle. Long after his death, people could not believe it, and the remarkable Bulgarian poet and revolutionist Hristo Botev wrote the immortal poem Hadji Dimitar, well known among Bulgarians. After the liberation in 1878, people started to build monuments in all the places where Hadji Dimitar had led the battles. His feat was great, and his exploit is one of the most heroic chapters in Bulgarian history. If you come to Sliven, you're welcome to visit the House Museum of Hadji Dimitar because he is a symbol of the town. Thank you.